Hey, Michael, nice to see you.
Good to see you, Michelle. Happy Monday.
Sorry, happy Monday. Yeah, happy Monday to you as well. So today I wanted to talk to Michael Abram. Michael is a mortgage broker with RPM Mortgage. He's done several of my clients' loans, and I love working with him because of his integrity and because he gets the job done. And I wanted to talk to him today about the difference between getting a buyer for a home, getting pre-qualified versus getting pre-approved for a loan, and what are the advantages of one versus the other. So Michael, if you want to give me maybe a little more introduction about yourself, and then we'll dive right into it.
Sure. So I work with RPM Mortgage. We are a direct lender and broker. So we work with over 80 different FDIC insured institutions. I've been doing this since about 2006, 2007. So I've been in the business a long time. I've only done this side of the business. I've only learned how to basically work with a lot of banks at any given time. So it's just a lot of experience on that end.
Great. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, some buyers start working, looking for a home, and they talk to their bank, maybe sometimes where they have their bank account, and they'll get something called a pre-qual versus a pre-qual letter versus a pre-approval letter. So tell us a little bit about what is one versus the other, and then we'll talk about the advantages of one versus the other.
Sure. So there's a very big difference between the two. We'll start with the pre-qual. Pre-qual insinuates that someone has done maybe an application and maybe a credit report, and that's probably the extent of it. There's really no review of all the other supporting paperwork, pay stubs, tax returns, W-2s,
right,
multiple properties that someone owns. So you really don't have a good idea on what their debt obligations really are and what their income really looks like versus what they may be saying on an application. So it's really just a very skirted way of qualifying. It really doesn't mean anything. From a pre-approval standpoint, that's where we're looking at the meat and potatoes of the file. We've seen income, we've seen asset, we've seen tax returns, we've seen mortgage statements, HOA invoices, anything that somebody has that can be positive or negative income to the qualification. We've seen it, we've looked at it, we've signed off. So a world of difference. Qualifying someone. Yeah.
Right. So basically, short of submitting the file to the underwriter, a pre-approved file is pretty much ready to go, where a pre-qual is basically just a buyer, potential buyer talking to their bank and saying, hey, this is how much I make, and this is what I do for a living, and maybe they've crossed they've checked their credit score, and that's about it. But other than that, they haven't done really any research. So I think I can talk about the advantage of one versus the other from the realtor's perspective, which obviously in this very, very competitive market where we have very limited inventory and a lot of demand, the listing agents, the agents who are representing the sellers, are going to be looking for those pre-approval letters and are probably going to disregard or tell their clients, the sellers, to disregard the offers with the pre-qual letters because they just don't really mean anything. And so for us, sometimes the clients think we're being really pushy and bugging them because they think, oh, my finances are great, I don't need to get pre-approved. But the fact is that, everybody is basically on the same boat here. And especially here in LA, where we have a lot of self-employed people who are maybe have one or two or three different sources of incomes. We write off a lot of expenses. It's not an easy deal for a loan for a lender to give someone a loan. So they have to really go through a lot of hoops before they get a pre-approval. Is that right?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And then throw the pandemic into the middle of this, and realtors are being even more cautious now about what they're looking at, calling the lenders, understanding the due diligence that went into that qualification before presenting it to their sellers. So it's really important to know what the file looks like, the ins and outs of it, because the second you cast doubt on that as a lender, where you don't know the answers to anything being asked by a listing agent, you might as well just toss that offer out. Because you're really creating doubt in a time when people do have an ability to repay issue, and it can happen in the middle of their loan, regardless of it, being qualified at a time with no issues. that's what's happening in the pandemic. So
Right.
all you can do is do your best ability and know that you vetted it as well as you could as an
Right.
agent. And so that's why the pre-approval is so much more important.
Yeah, and especially also because now with the lack of inventory and so much demand, when we get into escrow, if we're lucky to get into escrow with a client, our loan contingency, which is the amount of time that a buyer has to get their loan approved, are short. And the listing agent is going to say, hey, if you don't get your loan approved in time, I'm going to talk to the seller, and the seller is probably going to say, hey, if you have any other buyers who are ready to go, let's go with them instead. And so they're not going to be as flexible as if, as before. And so if you're pre-approved, you're much further along the way and you have a much better chance to get your loan approved versus if you're just pre-qualified and there's so much more work to do, so many more documents, financial documents for the borrower to supply their lender.
Yeah, exactly right. The last thing we want to do as a lender, Michelle, is be running backwards through a loan from the beginning, because it just leads to problems. We're going to forget something, we're going to miss something critical. So by doing your due diligence up front, by looking at all this, gives us the time to look through it properly, vet the file properly, and ensure there's no issues. Even if something takes a little bit longer, it's the right way to do it, and will make everybody happy and not scrambling in the 11th hour.
Exactly. So if you're, in the market to purchase a house, really do yourself a favor, listen to your realtor, listen to your mortgage broker, get yourself pre-approved, fully pre-approved. You'll be in a much more powerful position to get yourself a great home in this market, get your offer accepted, get your loan accepted within the time limits, and not have to stress so much. So, Michael, thanks again for that great information. It's really valuable. I have to say that I really enjoy working with you because every time you've gotten a loan pre-approved for my clients, I got their loans. And so that's very, very reassuring. So I'm going to put the information down below here. So if you have any questions for Michael directly, feel free to contact him, Michael Abram at RPM Mortgage. If you have any questions for me, of course, you can contact me as well. And be safe out there, and we'll see you next time. Michael, thanks for joining in.
You got it. Thanks, Michelle. Anytime.
Take care.